9 corrupt police officers reacting to life sentence. As the judge issues a life sentence to the corrupt police officer, the reaction of these 9 corrupt cops is one of shock and disbelief. With their fate now sealed, what will this criminal do next? Will they break the law one last time to escape justice, or will they accept their sentence and face the consequences of their actions? Stay tuned to find out. Officer Martin, resentment for the system. A good cop who had done his time in the force for years, Officer Martin was a valuable asset to the force. He was deeply committed to fairness and justice in all of his interactions with others. His authority, unfortunately, began to corrupt him over time. His corruption led him to accept bribes, abuse his position of power, and even engage in illegal behavior. A growing sense of hatred toward the system that had gotten him here developed rapidly. His dedication to the badge felt betrayed, he said. Since he believed he was being punished for doing his job properly, he became even more crooked. His former constituents were angry at the police department and felt misled. The consequences of Officer Martin's actions were felt throughout the whole department. Unfortunately, good individuals can be pushed to do horrible things by the system, and Officer Martin felt prey to the system, and his experience highlights the peril of unfettered authority. Officer Robinson, fear of the unknown. Corruption is a serious issue worldwide, and the United States is no exception. Officer Robinson has been arrested for bribery and extortion, proving his status as a corrupt law enforcement official. The public has good reason to be furious. There's widespread panic as a result of Officer Robinson's detention. The public's understandably concerned that this wrongdoing involves not just one but multiple officials. The extent of the malfeasance and the potential fallout for the public are unknown, and it's unclear what will happen to Officer Robinson or if he will suffer any meaningful consequences for his actions. Concern over what might happen in this case is evident, and it will likely remain so until the outcome is clear. Justice must be served in this case so that the public can have faith that the police are above suspicions of wrongdoing. In the meantime, people will continue to worry about what could happen. Officer Clark, a sense of betrayal. Many people in the area are familiar with the moniker Officer Clark, who has a reputation for corruption. The people put their faith in him because he was a law enforcement official. Officer Clark abused the faith placed in him by criminals by accepting bribes, failing to carry out his duties, and receiving payoffs. Those who trusted him before feel betrayed by his behavior. The corruption of Officer Clark has had far-reaching consequences, as it has led to widespread public mistrust of law enforcement as a whole. As a result, lawlessness has increased and public safety has declined. Officer Clark is still a cautionary example for all public servants, notwithstanding the fallout from his wrongdoing. He's a symbol of the fact that everyone is subject to the law and everyone deserves justice. All those who have been entrusted with public service can learn from his example. Officer Lewis, a feeling of being trapped. The city police force is a crooked cop named Lewis on staff. It was common knowledge that he accepted bribes and turned a blind eye to illicit behavior. He would gladly accept payment from anyone who offered it. In retrospect, Officer Lewis should have seen the signs of his own corruption sooner, but he was unprepared for the feeling of isolation it would bring. The longer he stayed and the more money he took, the fewer options he had for getting away. He couldn't break the pattern of stealing more money to satisfy himself. He saw that he was becoming more and more mired in the corruption he had sown. Officer Lewis was eventually apprehended and demoted. He went to jail and lost all his influence and prestige. Because of the situation, he felt helpless and trapped. Since there was no turning back now, he would just have to deal with the fallout from his dishonesty. The events in Officer Lewis's life are a sobering reminder of how far corruption can take you. Officer Lee, a feeling of helplessness. Officer Lee's job description called for him to serve as a bulwark against harm to the community, someone in whom residents could have faith and turn for assistance. Instead, he took advantage of his position to enrich himself through bribery and other corrupt means. He betrayed people's confidence and endangered their safety. Many others felt abandoned and betrayed because of his activities, which resulted in a prison sentence. The tragedy of Officer Lee serves as a sobering reminder of the long-term damage that corruption can cause to society. It's a lesson for those in authority not to utilize their position for their own gain. Officer King, a feeling of being abandoned. Officer King was well liked by his fellow officers for his unwavering commitment to public safety. but it was recently exposed that he had been corrupt, exploiting his position to enrich himself through bribery from criminals. His co-workers were taken aback by the revelation of his wrongdoing, as they had looked up to him as a role model and mentor. Since he had earned their trust as a protector and servant, they expected him to use his authority for their benefit rather than his own. Officer King felt abandoned once his acts became public knowledge. For a long time, he had considered the people with whom he shared a workplace to be his buddies, but now they'd abandoned him, and he was all alone and helpless. It's a tragic story about a man who finally felt at home, only to have that feeling snatched away from him. In the end, Officer King would pay the price for his corruption, yet it was wrong of him to do so. He should take comfort in the knowledge that his legacy is not wholly defined by his blunders, and that his co-workers still remember him for the good qualities he possessed. Officer Allen, a feeling of being judged and found guilty. Cop Allen has been accused of using his position of authority for his own personal gain, making him a corrupt public servant. He's been accused of bullying and intimidating the people he's supposed to protect while also receiving bribes. Corruption of this sort has been an issue for a long time, and it hasn't gotten any better because nothing's been done about it. It's a major flaw in the judicial system and a terrible wrong done to people who are impacted by it. Officer Allen is all too familiar with the experience of being unfairly accused and then convicted without being given a fair trial. His reputation as a police officer has been ruined, and he's been fired from his employment. This is harsh reality to face, but it serves as a necessary reminder that no one's immune to punishment. In the end, Officer Allen must take responsibility for his actions and live with the results. As such, it serves as a sobering reminder to all members of law enforcement that they must always operate justly and without bias. Officer Scott, a feeling of being misunderstood. Officer Scott has been serving the community as a police officer for a very long time. Unfortunately, he's been facing accusations of corruption in recent years. The rumors of his receiving bribes and engaging in shady deals have stained his reputation and cast a pall of mistrust over him. Deputy Scott believes that he is not being given a fair chance because of the way he looks. He claims he's always done his job honestly and with respect for the public's safety. He thinks he's being persecuted for his professionalism and dedication to the job, but the evidence points to the contrary. Police Officer Scott's dedicated to his profession in spite of the allegations against him. He still serves the public and safeguards the locals. He's confident in his service record and yet holds out hope of exonerating himself and rehabilitating his reputation. For the time being, he will continue to serve with dedication and secure in the knowledge of what he was doing is right. Officer Turner, a feeling of being wronged. Officer Turner was a crooked cop who took advantage of the helpless with his badge and gun. He had a reputation for committing violent activities, taking bribes, and extorting money. People saw him as a bully who abused his authority to terrorize and control those under him. An excellent illustration of the abuse of power and impunity enjoyed by individuals in positions of authority, Turner, the police officer, was never given the opportunity to defend himself or face consequences for his actions. This incident serves as a somber reminder of corruption's pervasiveness and the imperative for greater accountability and justice. And one more humble reminder to all our audience, please don't forget to subscribe to our channel and stay up to date about these crazy court moments. With this, we conclude today's video, but make sure you haven't missed out on anything. Do you ever see a person who is never scared of their own death? If not, then certainly check out this: 6 sentence killers that showed no remorse.